Hello and welcome to the editorial analysis of The Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 26th of July. So coming to the first article, the minute of Trump's mediation claim. Basically this is context with regards to the recent controversy that has been generated. I have already discussed an article on this. What has happened is that the President of USA, Mr. Donald Trump, he has made a claim that India's Prime Minister during the G20 talks in Osaka had requested the President of US to intervene and ensure that there is a mediation which is done between India and Pakistan on the issue of Kashmir. So this is what has been claimed by President Trump. This is what has been refuted by Indian leadership. It has been said time and again that the Prime Minister has made no such statement. Several issues are being raised because this is what is being contradicted by the opposition in India. A lot of political mileage is what is being drawn out of this particular episode. So all of that part is what is getting a lot of media attention also. Now in such kind of topics, despite the fact that there are so many editorials that are coming on this, I will have to underline that these topics are not the topics that UPSC will focus on. Though prima facie they look important, a number of editorials come on them. It's a matter of international diplomacy. Those issues are there, but UPSC will never ask such kind of controversial questions. So you will have to be very selective. You cannot invest a lot of your time and energy in these kind of topics which will not fetch you that much of return. So instead you must focus on some core aspects more than these kind of topics, but still some parts of this topic and this issue that have been discussed which are relevant for us is what I have extracted. First and foremost, this entire scenario is what is offering a lesson for India. What is that lesson? The lesson is that in today's times, in international geopolitics today, India cannot trust any other country. Not only India, no other country can trust another country. And the focus of every single country today, including India, should be single-mindedly pursuing one's national interest. This is the era of deglobalization in a way. So national interest is what has taken precedence over global interest. So in that particular context, this is the lesson that India has to learn. Another issue that has been discussed here is that this claim was what was made by President Trump when he was in a meeting or he was giving a press conference with his counterpart in Pakistan. So what is important is that the Afghan issue might have played a role here. For America, what is important is that America wants to have an exit from Afghanistan, and not only an exit is what is relevant, America wants to save its face during this particular exit. It has become embarrassing for America to make a withdrawal from Afghanistan, and in this light Pakistan becomes very relevant for America. This is because Taliban has a major role to play in Afghanistan, and with Taliban only one country has influence, only one country has clout over Taliban, that is Pakistan, and this is what makes Pakistan very important today, both for US, both for China, as well as even for Russia to some extent. So this is the extent of geopolitics or the change in geopolitics that one has to analyze, and this is what is coming time and again in the editorial. So this is what you need to understand. Another important analysis is with regards to ignoring the criticism. Now basically this is sort of an irritant between India and US, and the editorial is highlighting that such kind of an irritant was what had emerged between US and Pakistan also in the past. If you remember, President Trump had tweeted once that Pakistan is known for its lies, it is known for its deceit, and all the money that has been given as aid to Pakistan is what is being wasted by Pakistan. So in that particular context, one can say that even Pakistan has held no grudge against US, and Pakistan is what is again engaging with US. So why is it that we in India are considering this as an irritant? The lies of President Trump are something that are known across the world. It is very much known in his own country as well, is what is being discussed in the editorial. This is the opinion strictly of the editorial. So that is what has been talked about, that if this is the issue, then in that scenario even India must not act in such a hardliner stand, and India must let this matter go. So that is what has been discussed. Another analysis which is important is with regards to Indo-Pacific. This is a new term, it has been coined by Japan. I have discussed several articles on Indo-Pacific, and in my personal opinion you must expect a question on Indo-Pacific region in the mains paper this time. It is that important, that relevant. Now here the editorial is discussing that in this particular region the role of India has been what has been favored by several countries like Japan, Australia and US for that matter. This is largely to counter China. This is the only interest of all these nations. However, the editorial is bringing about an analogy where it is discussing that several experts have discussed this and debated on this, that if tomorrow there is a scenario where India and China have a conflict, because India and China have a unique relation and tension within themselves. This is not the case between US and China. So if there is what is a conflict between India and China, India should not rather expect support from any country, and India will have to stand up to this challenge on its own. That is what is being judged by several experts, and that is what has been highlighted here. So in this particular context also, India must stand on its own from now itself, and India must not focus on several other countries and must not depend on them. So that is one analysis which has been offered. Another analysis is with regards to the Kashmir issue. The editorial is offering a suggestion. These kind of suggestions, until and unless very much clearly asked in your UPSC papers, try and avoid these kind of solutions. You are supposed to analyze an issue. You are not supposed to give a solution to that particular issue. You have to understand that you are students. Even experts don't have solutions to these kind of issues. So how is it that we as students can write a solution in the answers? So your only duty is that you should know all the aspects and you should be able to analyze an issue. That is where you have to restrict yourself. Only if there is a solution that is demanded out of you, that is where you have to give a solution. So coming to the Kashmir issue, here a solution is what has been offered. It has been said that for India will always want that at least the POK area is what should be restored back to India. Pakistan wants that entire Jammu and Kashmir is what should be restored back to Pakistan for that matter. So both the demands are what are not feasible for both the countries. So what is the solution? The solution is that the LOC is what should be marked as the international boundary, and the boundary dispute should be resolved permanently forever. So that is what is the solution that has been offered. But time and again I am going to stress that you must show restraint while you are giving these kind of solutions. So that is how you have to use this particular suggestion that has been given. Indeed, the article can be used for India-Pakistan relation, but that is where the importance is. That is also a small amount of importance, largely as an irritant vis-a-vis US as well as India. Also, if you have an opportunity to discuss about deglobalization, there also you can use this as an example. So that is how you can use this particular article as a fodder material, and that is the only relevance. Coming to the next article, the terrorist tag. Now the context here is with regards to the proposed amendments to the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. This is what is in the pipeline, and this is what makes it important. Coming to the issues that have been discussed, first and foremost you need to know about the amendment that has been proposed. The amendment that has been proposed is that it leaves a scope, or it opens the door for designating as an individual as a terrorist. So as of now, only organization are what could be tagged as a terrorist organization, but now even an individual can be tagged or designated as a terrorist, and that is what is the proposed amendment. Now coming to the necessity of this kind of an amendment. The necessity is that this is what is a provision which is prevalent in several countries. Firstly, another provision is that often what happens is that these banned groups simply change their names and they continue to operate. And even the members of these banned groups, they simply change in organization and they continue to operate. So to curb it, what is important is that the member themselves should be given this title of a terrorist. That is how some degree of control is what can be done. So that is the necessity which has been mentioned in the editorial. Now coming to the negatives that have been highlighted. Now what is important in this particular context is that several negatives are what are going to be associated if an individual is going to be given that kind of a tag. First negative is that this is what could be misused. Now here what has been discussed is that the Home Minister himself has said that there is an emergence of something called urban Maoists. Now if you wonder and if you ponder upon this term urban Maoist, this is an open-ended term. Who knows who is an urban Maoist? A person who might even be criticizing the government could be called as an urban Maoist. And if that person is an urban Maoist, he will later be called as a terrorist. So you can yourself draw the link that how much possibility of misuse is what is there. Another negative aspect is that in India the system is such that a person is what is innocent until he has been proven guilty. So the entire law process is what is very lengthy. The judicial system is very lengthy, time consuming. So will we name a person terrorist before he has been convicted, or will we wait for his conviction? So all of that issue is what is very complex, and that is why this is a negative idea. Another analysis is that this might lead to several serious constitutional questions also. The rights of the individuals are what will be at stake, and all of this is what is a negative of this kind of an amendment. So that is what has been analyzed. Another analysis is with regards to a comparison between individual versus organization. Now, I told you organizations are what can be designated as a terrorist organization, but not the individual. So what is it about the individual that this kind of an amendment is not valid? First and foremost, you should know that the individual in our country enjoys the right to life and liberty under Article 21. This is not the right that is enjoyed by an organization. So the liberty as well as the self-respect of an individual is what has to be upheld in this country, and such kind of a designation might hamper that. So that is one issue. Another thing is that the impact of such kind of a designation will be much more on an individual than on an organization. Also, what is important is that as of now, the amendment doesn't talk of any process for getting one's name removed. If the tag is what is given, if this designation is what is given, then how will this designation be done away with? No such mention is what has been done. Also, what is important is that a wrongful designation will cause irreparable damage also. So that is another analysis. What if a person is wrongfully convicted? In that particular case, should he face this kind of a discrimination for his entire life? There are impacts on the families of people. So all of that analysis is what one needs to keep in mind when we have this discussion or debate on ensuring that an individual gets such a designation. So that is what is important. Another important analysis is with regards to some anti-federal features in this particular amendment. Now here the proposal is that the National Investigation Agency will have the power to forfeit the property of the person who has been tagged as a terrorist. So if this right is what is going to be given to a central agency, it takes away the right from the state government, and that is what is the anti-federal character of it. Now this article is very, very important. Why this is important is because these kind of questions are what will come in the ethics paper. This is an ethical issue. Should an individual be tagged? And these kind of an analysis is what UPSC will prefer in the ethics paper, and that is where I am seeing some importance of this particular article. Otherwise, this is only a proposed amendment, and I have told you that until and unless a proposed bill is what is converted into an act, it is rarely important for UPSC, because UPSC avoids asking such kind of critical issues. So in that context, you will have to be selective in your preparation, and that is where the relevance is. Coming to the next article. How to make the surrogacy bill more inclusive. Now first and foremost, I would like to say that this is what is an interview. So this is more like a discussion. You should always prefer to read these kind of articles, though I have extracted the important gist of this particular interview as well, but still, if there is time and you have the scope, try and read this particular article. Now the context here is with regards to the proposed bills, the surrogacy regulation bill. So in that particular context, what are the issues is what have been discussed in this interview. First and foremost, this bill is what is calling for something called an altruistic surrogacy. Now, what is an altruistic surrogacy? As of now, first and foremost, I'm sure you all know what is surrogacy. Surrogacy is that when another woman allows or lends her womb for carrying the child of another couple. So this is what is the idea of surrogacy. Largely what happens is that this is a job, this is what is a business in India. Money is what is taken by the surrogate mother for delivering the child of a particular couple. This is what needs to be regulated, because here the editorial is saying that the need has arisen because of the rapid commercialization of this practice. What has basically happened is that exploitation is what is taking place. So the bill is calling for the need for altruistic surrogacy. In this, only those people who are willing to do it without money will be allowed to be surrogate mothers, and also they should be the relatives of the intending couple. So that is the idea of altruistic surrogacy. Another analysis is with regards to the ART bill. Now this is the Assisted Reproductive Technology Bill. This is a bill that is lying in the pipeline since 1990s and it has not been passed. It is the assisted reproductive technology which needs to be regulated first, and then surrogacy has to be talked about. For instance, it is an embryo which has to be implanted in the surrogacy mother. So it will require an IVF. This is what is an assisted reproductive technology. The embryos or the eggs or the sperms are what will have to be conserved by some particular clinic. So that is what is an ART. First and foremost, these processes have to be regulated. Only after these processes are regulated will we be able to regulate surrogacy. It is almost like we are regulating the end without even bothering about the process, and the main aspect of that particular issue is what has been argued. So if you have a scope to discuss this, please talk about the ART bill. This is indispensable for your marks on such kind of a question. Very, very important. Another analysis is that the editorial has only talked about married couples, married Indian couples. It is not given any mention to NRIs. Also to foreign couples, no mention is what is there. Also what is important is that it's not talking about the LGBT community who would very much like to have children through surrogacy. Also, single parents are not have been talked about. Single parents, we are seeing that this is what is the culture, that unmarried people also wish to have children. Sometimes widows need to have children. Also, divorced people need to have children, and they are going ahead with surrogacy. So there is no mention of how will they access this facility. So that is one loophole. Another analysis is with regards to the exploitation that the surrogate mother faces. There is no doubt that this is a market that has grown in itself, and there is huge amount of exploitation that is taking place. There is lack of care for the surrogate mother, especially the postpartum care is what is negligible for the mother. Once the child is born, the couple simply takes the child and leaves and doesn't even look back at the condition of the mother. Another analysis is that there is no provision of mental health or for that matter counseling for the mother. The woman who has born a child or kept a child in her womb for 9 months will definitely have some degree of mental attachment to that child and might require some counseling for going ahead with the surrogacy process. No such provision is what is there, and all of this is what is resulting in exploitation of the surrogate mother, and this is what requires regulation. Another thing that has been discussed is the concept of fashion surrogacy. Now, what is fashion surrogacy is? What happens is that often a well-healthy couple, they go ahead with surrogacy simply because the woman involved does not wish to invest the time in pregnancy and bearing a child. Sometimes it is also for the reasons of maintaining one's body and maintaining one's physique. And for this particular reason, they go ahead with surrogacy. This kind of a surrogacy, where the couple is very much healthy to bear their own child, but still goes for surrogacy, is what is known as fashion surrogacy. And this needs to clearly be removed. This is one trend that cannot be advocated. So this is what needs to be checked. Another issue which has been discussed here is with regards to the false claims which are being made by several clinics. This is what needs to be controlled, especially under the ART bill. Several clinics are claiming that they have 100% IVF success rate, which is not a reality. This can never happen is what the editorial is highlighting. In the interview here is the experts in the interview are discussing that this is something that is nearly approximately 40%. So when this is not something that can ever happen, then how is it that these claims are made? And after making such false claim, they are also charging very, very high. For one IVF, the cost has gone up to almost 4 to 5 lakh rupees. So indeed, regulation is what is required in this particular context. So that is what has been analyzed in this editorial. Surrogacy has always been a very, very important topic, and this can definitely be a question any time. This editorial gives us concrete ideas on surrogacy bill, surrogacy regulation bill, and these are ideas that are very much usable. So the editorial in itself is very, very relevant. Still, if you have the time, please give it a read. It's a good read, and these are the important points that I have extracted out of this editorial. So that's about this particular article, and that's about our discussion today. I thank you all for watching the video.